Welcome back to the Reconnection Co.'s guided journaling sessions. This session is for the parts of you that feel like you're failing, you're falling behind, or you've never quite been enough. If you've experienced childhood trauma or emotional neglect, chances are your nervous system has been wired for survival long before it ever had the chance to feel safe. And that survival shapes the way that you show up in your relationships, in your friendships, in your work. It influences your boundaries and even your sense of worth. Now, this isn't about blaming the past. It's about understanding the conditions that shaped you, so you can stop punishing yourself for outcomes that were never your fault. Take a breath. You are not broken. You are surviving something your younger self never had the language for. Let's begin. Prompt 1. What did you have to go without as a child that others may have had? Emotional presence, encouragement, safety. Let this be an honest, grief-informed inventory, not to dwell, but to witness what you were never given. Prompt 2. Now, for all of those things that you identified that you had to go without as a child, how do you feel, or how do you think that having those would have helped you now in your adult life? Would it have given you the encouragement to take on studies, to move abroad, to take a job? Whatever it is, how do you feel that having those things would have helped encourage you in your adult life? Prompt 3. Now, when you are comparing yourself to those around you, your friends, your coworkers, whoever it may be, what is the metric that you are comparing yourself against that allows you to feel like you are behind, that you are not good enough? Is it someone's financial status? Is it their material possessions? Is it the friendships or the networks that they have around them? Is it their family? Do they have a romantic partner? Now, this is understandably a very comfortable question to pass through. You may need to pause whilst you're doing this. This is just highlighting for yourself what may be some of those core shame wounds that require some gentle compassion and some narrative work. Prompt 4. Now, for the part of you that carries the belief that you're not doing enough, or you should be further ahead, or whatever it is that you've identified in the previous prompt, that is the metric of where you are punishing yourself, can you think back to where the parts of you learnt that message or those messages? Was it from your caregivers? Was it from a teacher? Was it from a more broader culture of perfectionism? What is it that has helped build that narrative that you are not enough? Prompt 5. Now we're changing gears a little bit. I want you to think about the survival strategies that you needed to develop when you were a child, but are now creating pain and barriers in adulthood. So this could be people pleasing, fawning, overworking, emotionally shutting down and withdrawing, hyper independence. How are those survival strategies now making things harder for you in adulthood? Are they affecting your romantic relationships? Are you feeling burnt out from being hypervigilant and working too hard at work? I want you to think about the survival strategies that helped get you through childhood, but how they may now be sabotaging your health and progress as an adult. Prompt 6. Now that you have identified some survival strategies from your younger self that are now potentially unhelpful behaviours to you today, I want you to think back on your previous prompts. Do the environments still exist where these strategies are required? Or are you in a new environment where these strategies are now sabotaging your sense of comfort and safety? Prompt 7. Now, I want you to circle back to what you identified that you had to go without as a child that others may have had. Remember, this might have been emotional presence, encouragement, safety. Now, I want you to think about the behaviours and patterns that you've identified and how potentially those things that you had to go without as a child helped shape the current behaviours that are happening today. Now, with those elements that you had to go without as a child, if you had them, how do you feel that that would have impacted the survival strategies that you developed that are now playing out in your adult life? For example, if you went without emotional validation, no one helped you name or regulate your feelings. So the survival strategy that may have developed is an adult who suppresses their emotions, intellectualizes feelings, avoids vulnerability. Now, if you were emotionally validated when you're a child, you would potentially be able to name emotions in real time, ask for support without shame, trust that your feelings don't make you weak. Another example is if you went without consistent safety or stability, so your home was chaotic, unpredictable, or emotionally or physically unsafe. The survival strategy might be hypervigilance, people-pleasing, scanning for danger, over-controlling. The healthier behaviour, if you had felt safe, would be the ability to rest, to delegate tasks, to set boundaries without guilt, and trust others without constantly monitoring your environment. Another example is you went without your boundaries being respected. Your no wasn't heard, or you were parentified or enmeshed. The survival strategies often are fawn responses, over-compliance, an immense fear of saying no. A healthier behaviour, if your boundaries were protected, were confident boundary setting, trusting that no doesn't end connection, and saying no without panicking. Now we want to try and build a healthier alternative. So what I want you to identify and ask yourself, now that you may have identified a few of your unhealthy coping strategies, think about, what did that version of you that created those strategies need instead? Did you need protection, emotional consistency, encouragement, permission to rest, someone to believe you? And today I want you to think about how you can give yourself one small version of what you needed. So I want you to choose a specific behaviour that you have identified that gently contradicts the old pattern. If you learn to always be agreeable, say no to something low stakes today. If you learn to stay invisible and not speak up, speak one honest feeling out loud, even if it's just to yourself. So the first task is to identify a few of those behaviours that you can engage in to gently contradict your old patterns. And then the next step, I want you to jot down the negative feelings that you had in anticipation of doing that behaviour or whilst you were doing it. But then I want you to jot down the positives. After you did the task or the behaviour that you just engaged in, what felt good about doing that? How did you feel better? Why did you feel better? And what is another strategy that you can do to do more of that in your daily life? Now this concludes today's guided journaling session. I hope this resonated with you. I know it may have stirred up a few uncomfortable feelings, but I want to remind you, you are not lazy. You are not falling behind. You are recovering from years, maybe decades, of running on survival mode. And if nobody ever told you this before, the fact that you are still here, still trying, still showing up to heal is not just enough, it's heroic. If this session resonated with you, you might find even more clarity in our companion podcast, episode 11 on the Reconnection podcast. And lastly, the biggest thing that you can do to help this platform and channel grow is to like the videos, subscribe to the channels, and please, if you do know anyone who would benefit from any of these guided journaling sessions or the other videos and podcasts we have available on the Reconnection Co platforms, please share it with them. Take care, and I will see you next time.